Hey guys, welcome back to Tom's Garage. Today we're going to be working on the roof rack on top of the smart cap here on the 2022 Gladiator. It's going to probably be a little tough for me to film while I'm working up on the ladder, but what I plan on doing is I've got the smart cap, which has integrated roof rails, and I've got a pair of front runner load bars on top. So my plan is to take those off and install the Rhino Rack Platform. What I want to do is get 2 solar panels up there and still be able to use the roof rack. So I think once I get the platform on and the solar panels mounted, I think I can get the roof racks on the platform so I can carry some load there, and the solar panels will be below the load bars. So up on top, let me show you what we got here. Here's the integrated rail that comes with the smart cap, and the front runner supports clip right in there. I also have on here that I have to work with, I've got my Starlink antenna, which has to be relocated, and I also have my scanner antenna, which will also have to be relocated. So the first step is going to be to get these load bars off. So I'll get to work on that, and we'll come back in a few minutes when we're ready to mount the platform. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to get these load bars off. You can see underneath there's 2 plastic caps. We're going to have to pry those guys off in order to get the appropriate wrench. So let's see what these look like here. There's 1, there's 2. I'm going to get the appropriate wrench. Looks to be probably around 10 millimeter. So let me get the wrench and we'll start loosening up. There's going to be 8 of those, 2 on each bracket. So let me get to work on that, and then we'll come back for the next step. So I loosened the bolts. They wound up being a 13 millimeter. I only have to loosen them just enough to slide. Don't need to take the bolts completely out, because on the smart cap here, there's this cap. And this cap will come off. I don't want to lose that tiny little screw there. Get that out of the way. So all we need to do is pull that off and then just slide the load bars off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side. Gone. So for now, I'm just going to remove these load bars, and then we'll come back and start the install on the platform. Okay, so these are the brackets or the leg set that I'm going to use to mount the platform to the rails on the smart cap. So it's kind of an interesting setup. This is the part that's going to attach to the actual platform. Just 1 bolt. And then this part here is what attaches actually to the truck. And there's 3 holes here. We'll probably only use 2. But what's interesting is, you can see there's a little key lock here. And what we do, when you remove this key lock, this panel comes off. It exposes two red levers. And those red levers retract those pins. I believe they'll lock in place. And then it sits on the part that's in the truck, and you release these levers and it's locked in. You put this, I guess this is some sort of an anti-theft cap. You put that back on and you're good to go. So pretty simple. If you ever wanted to take the rack off for some reason, you can just push in those levers and lift this off, leaving this on the truck. So important thing here is to get the measurements right, because you want to get these on where you want them. These are a lot easier to move. This not so much. So we'll get the platform and figure out what our spacing is going to be so we can attach these guys to the platform. Freddie went ahead and installed one on here, and It was just that one cap screw there to set it on. So what I need to do is measure my rails to come up with this measurement and see how far over my bracket's going to be. So that's going to be the width of the rails that are already on top of the smart cap. And then since I have one mounting rail here and another one down here, that this measurement is going to determine fore and aft where my brackets are going to be on the top of the smart cap. So I'm going to get my tape measure out, take some measurements, do some layout, maybe put some tape on there. This is, in my opinion, is the more critical measurement, side to side, because this is not going to be easy to adjust. Once I get my side to side measurement, I can adjust very easily those pieces that are on the top of the rails, on top of the smart cap, to get my fore and aft measurement set. So I'm going to do some measurements and we'll be back in a few minutes. So when we put these brackets on, all we need to do is loosen this screw a little bit just to get some play. And on the rack you can see there's a bit of a cutout. So all we need to do is slide it in like so and just reposition it back and forth where we need it to be to match our rail spacing. So I'm going to get those 4 on, and then we'll go up on top of the cap. Okay, here we are back on top of the smart cap. So here's our first problem, if you will. The attachment method for the base consists of a plate that goes in the rail and a screw that goes down from the top here, and this locks in and slides into the rail. Problem is, this piece is too wide for our rail. The rail uses a T-nut and a stud. So this slides in here, and then the nut goes on top of it. Problem is, this stud is too big for the hole, and the nut is too big for the recess. So what we're going to have to do is see, drilling this out to accommodate this should be pretty easy. It doesn't appear to be too much difference. Problem is, I don't know that we're going to have enough material to drill that out for the nut. So I guess the other option would be to try to grind this down to fit in the slot, and it looks like it's a good 1/4 inch too big. So let me go back and do a little bit of thinking to see if it makes sense to try to go this route with the stud, or to try to grind this down and use the bolt to go through. So let's see how this pans out. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so I quickly realized there was not enough meat in here to drill out this pocket for the bolt and to get a socket on there. So that was a no-go. So what I had to do was just grind these down and put some 40 grit on the belt sander, and it made quick work of it. So these will just slide in here now. No problem. Just have to wait for them to cool down, and then we'll get back to work. Okay, so we'll get one of the brackets. We'll get a screw with a lock washer and a flat washer. We'll drop that in there. We'll screw on one of these guys, just to catch it a couple threads. And then do the same thing here. Drop that in. Couple turns, and then we'll just line this up. And slide her in. So once I get it in the place close to where I think it's going to be, I'll snug it down a little bit and then get my measurement from the center of this to the center on the other side, and that'll get my my width spacing to set up on the platform. Okay, so after some careful measuring and laying out those brackets, I was able to get the platform up on top of the cap. I did record the video of me struggling to get it up there. Wasn't really of any value, so I'm not going to include it in this video. So after it's up, see I've got the ones on the driver's side are snapped in, and basically what I did was the same thing that I'm doing here on the passenger side. Was I propped up the platform, and then I'm able to get in here and tighten these down, lock them into place, and then do the same thing on this bracket here. You can see inside the bolt. So we just tighten that down. And once they're all tightened down, if I can do this with one hand, this will snap into place. We'll take these out and get them to lock in. The same thing over here. We'll just pull these out and they'll snap out. So once they're locked in, we take these anti-theft covers, put them in with the key, and that finishes it off nice and gives it some degree of theft protection. And that's about it. Figure out where the two antennas are going to go when I mount the solar panels, and that'll be for the next video. Alright, so overall it wasn't too bad. Just some careful measuring, that's the key. Obviously these Rhino Rack platforms come in a number of different sizes. I wanted mine just to cover my smart cap. You can extend it over the cab if you like, but I thought this one was a good fit for what I had in mind. Careful measuring, again, is the key to this project. See, I've got my camera here. Because of the smart cap doesn't have a window, my rear view mirror is useless, so I put a remote camera in there with a little screen up in the cab, so that works out really well. And really the hardest part was making the little T-nuts, if you will, to grind those guys down to fit inside the Rhino Rack, Rhino Rack rails. But wasn't too bad. I had put some 40 grit on the knife grinder, belt sander, and made quick work of it. Actually took longer for them to cool down than it did for me to grind them down. So, but that was really it. Pretty straightforward, I would say, overall. Not, counting the time, for prep to shoot the video. Probably took me about 45 minutes to install it. I'd put the platform together a while ago, and that only took maybe 20 minutes or so. So overall, I figure maybe about an hour, and you got a nice platform on top of your Jeep. So I appreciate you watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. I got a bunch more videos coming down the pike, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Okay, so here's just a little sneak peek of what I envision this thing looking like. These are not installed, they're just set up there just for sizing. So you see I kept my load bars are higher than the panels, so I'll be able to get cargo on top. The panels will be unobstructed while there's nothing on the load bars, and I should work out well. So that's going to be the next project in the next video. So just a little sneak peek of what I hope the final outcome will look like. So stay tuned. See you next time.